Welcome to the show. I'm Jen. My guest today is very special to me. Kim Quintero, Channel 3 and CBS 5, meteorologist, award-winning Emmy meteorologist and reporter. Thank you for being here.
I'm excited you invited me. This is such a big deal.
It's so cool. You know, I mentioned to you I've had some other people as guests that are in the media world and obviously doing PR. We work together. But really, truly, when I work with Kim, we work together for hours. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of special times. And so having you here as part of this experience that I've created is really meaningful and special. So.
And it kind of stinks because we haven't been able to hang out because of the pandemic.
I know.
And the cancellation of events and all that. So it's nice to be back with you.
We'll get that back. We'll get back there. So I did meet you at sort of the beginning of when you got here. But tell us, how long have you been in Arizona, and have you only been at one station in town, and what's your time here been like?
So I've been here for about 8 years. I've always worked for Arizona's Family. It used to be just 3 TV, and then Channel 3 and Channel 5 merged, and so we're now Arizona's Family. But you were one of my very first live shots.
Yeah.
I want to say it was at the Home and Garden show.
And we've done many of them since.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've stayed with Arizona's Family ever since. I started off as a meteorologist on the weekends and a reporter during the week. And since then, I pretty much do everything.
Wow.
I do traffic, I anchor, I report. I might clean the bathroom sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's the family part. You help each other when somebody's off or someone needs the extra support. So weather is a big part of what you do. That is your main role. So when did you decide that weather was something you wanted to get into?
Well, it's so funny. So when I was a child, I always wanted to be a news anchor and news reporter. Once I actually got into the business, I was hired as a weather person, even though I didn't have my background in meteorology. I was hired as a weekend weather person, a weekday reporter. And my very first news director said, if you want to move to a larger market, you're going to have to focus in on one thing, whether it's news or weather. And if it is going to be weather, you need to get your degree in meteorology. At the time, I only had my degree in broadcast journalism. So after covering death and destruction and house fires and murders and having to knock on doors of moms who had just lost children brutally, I realized that I can't do this. That's not what I want to do. So I went back to school and I went to Mississippi State. They have a distance learning program through them, a broadcast meteorology distance learning program. It's a 3-year program.
Wow.
So I was working full time, but most of it was online. So I was able to do a lot of it while have a full-time job in TV. And once I got my degree, I moved to South Carolina, but it was kind of a hybrid position again. It was weather and reporting. And then I moved here. Again, it was kind of a hybrid position. It was weather and reporting. But I've learned since I've been here, the more you know, the more valuable you are. I mean, when there are layoffs and things going down, it's like, okay, who's somebody that we can stick anywhere? And so I picked up those other attributes in order to, I guess, kind of gain some job stability as well.
And that's actually a good tip for any organization. You make yourself more valuable the more departments you touch or the more areas that you're knowledgeable about. And that degree is not easy. I mean, when you say 3 years, this is not like a quick certificate that you're stamping your name on. I mean, you're really learning about, you know, Mother Nature and what makes
lots of math and science.
Yeah.
And I was never the math and science type growing up. I was always kind of the artsy fartsy type. So it took me a little extra studying to get that degree, but.
And I don't know if this is typical in other markets because I've only lived in Arizona, but the weather role that you have is out and about and not solely, obviously you're in the studio a lot, but a lot of it is spending hours outside on location. And I'm sure you've all seen Kim spend that time, and she's highlighting events and businesses and what's going on in the community. And I've spent a lot of those mornings with you, cold mornings, and you're jockeying a lot and juggling a lot. How do you get that system, you know, down, or how have you figured that out to manage being out, not in the studio, and you have different weather conditions that might be cold and uncomfortable or really hot, and then you actually have to report the weather too, and what we're watching for you to to give us is that weather. So
I will say this is the first market that I've ever lived in where I actually had to do weather out at an event and conduct an interview and juggle or do tricks or the random crazy things that we do to entertain our viewers. I was very, very shy and very introverted and very scared and timid to have to do those sorts of things. Like, I have to talk about a high pressure system moving in and temperatures being 10 to 15 degrees warmer than normal. And then I have to talk about the home and garden show and they have 250 vendors here and this is going on, and tell me a little bit about your product. So that took a lot of getting used to. And I think you just have to get to a point where I'm not going to care about whether or not I'm going to get this right or wrong. I'm just going to do it and hope for the best and just be comfortable with yourself and have confidence in yourself with repetition. And the more I did it, it just became second nature. And I realized the people I'm interviewing could be just as nervous, if not more nervous than me. So I had to be that calming, the voice of reason, like, hey, we're going to get through this together. And so, yeah, I just think the more that I did it, it's just like, oh yeah, let's do weather. Let's highlight this event. Let's hopefully help these business owners get some exposure. And
well, you've nailed it, because honestly, I'm just in awe of it. You know, I sit here for 10 minutes and talk to you, and I've got some things in my mind I want to ask and do, but really, truly delivering the weather and showcasing that individual or business and having to remember a date or a ticket price or a location. It is a lot, and you're condensing that into a few minutes. So you've done a phenomenal job.
Thank you. What's funny is I have a terrible memory, but for some reason, God has given me a gift for this market alone to where I can remember all these random facts. And then once the show is over, I forget
They're
it
done.
all.
Right.
Yes.
You can regurgitate it really quick and then forget it, which you probably are better off just forgetting it in that moment. So, you know, with all the things that you're juggling and doing, and this is a question that can relate to a lot of people in any career, is that balance. And we've had a lot of conversations about, you know, the personal and the professional and how you balance that with a work schedule. And for some people, it's, you know, maybe kiddos or, you know, other things they have going on. So how do you find that balance in work and then the lifestyle? I know you like to work out or spend time with friends. So how do you manage that?
It's learning to say no to a lot of things. I wake up at 1 in the morning, sometimes 2 in the morning to start my day, which means I go to bed at like 6 or 7 when most people want to go out and have dinners and stuff. And I know that if I do those things too often, I'm just going to feel bad and set myself up for failure the next day. So it's learning to say no. It's also kind of just forcing yourself to do things that you know are going to be good for you. Like at 3:30 in the afternoon, I know I'm not going to want to work out because I've been up since 2 a.m., but I know I'm going to feel better doing it. So it's just that just do it mentality. Like, yeah, you don't want to do it, but you do it to get ahead with your physical and your mental. So, yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. But I also look for opportunities to have fun. I don't spend a lot of time with people that have Monday through Friday jobs because it's hard because I work weekends. So it limits the types of friends and people and my social life. So don't get me wrong, like it is difficult, but has a lot of payoffs. Like I love my job and I love the people that I've come across. I mean, I've met you because of my job. So there's give and take with it all.
Well, and I think something that also has impressed me about you, and I'm going to use the word boundaries. I feel like you have really good boundaries with, you know, you've never come to work and been like, oh, I was up till I only got an hour sleep. And I think some people, and it can be not just in that example, but having the boundaries to know you want to, you know, work out or you want to, you know, do something specific that's, you know, important to you. You have really good boundaries with making those things happen and giving yourself that balance, in my opinion.
Thank you. Well, and I think also too, if you have your own specific goals, you follow your own set of rules in order to succeed. So am I where I want to be in my career? No, I would love to be a Monday through Friday on air talent personality. Maybe that's a meteorologist, maybe that's a news anchor. So it's like, I know I'm still growing that, and I know that I still have to be disciplined until I start to achieve those goals.
Which is crazy in a way to hear you say, if I may go there, because that show that you're a part of, I don't have the daily numbers, but generally speaking, that morning weekend show that is a big part of what we're having in this conversation of the 3 hours being out is the number one, to your station's weekday numbers and a lot of other stations or all of the other stations. So what you've done and what you're doing, in my opinion, you are, definitely in a very important role in this community.
See, I need people like you to remind me of those things.
But it's true. You have phenomenal people on the show with you, and I know those, co-hosts and anchors with you, but you consume a lot of that time with what you do when you go out and provide what you're doing. So kudos to you for that. Okay, so something fun, maybe something that would surprise people about you.
So something new that just happened. So I purchased a firearm earlier this year as protection for myself. Because when you're out in the public and you're a single girl,
absolutely,
and you need to be able to protect yourself. So I ended up just getting my CCW. Oh, wow. I took the courses, and so
that's awesome.
Now I have that, and I took a couple of courses actually. And I'm really finding myself very interested in guns and the background, the laws, the civil, the criminal. And so it's just something I've kind of nerded out over lately. Like, I was the one person that was in class taking notes, and I would shout out I was in a class full of men, and I would shout out the answers to things like that. So that's something random that.
But I think that's great. Maybe after the show, you can share a little bit of that with me, because I'm in that same realm too, and I think I can understand where that came from.
We live in a crazy world. We really do.
We do. Absolutely. So, in closing, if you weren't doing weather and reporting what you're doing, what would you be doing? Because it really sounds like you knew at a young age, but is there something else that you would be doing if you weren't doing this?
I feel like I would be doing anything to help either showcase a business, whether it's a spokesperson for a business or communications or public relations.
So maybe a PR job at Evolve one day.
Well, it's so funny because I feel like that is half my job.
Of course, yes.
Or something within public service, like helping others, helping a company, helping people in need, something to that effect.
Yeah, so I could see that. I know I said that was my last question, but I need to squeeze in one more. How often do people blame you for the weather and the results of the weather, or something related to what you told them and what naturally happened in the sky?
All the time. My photographer this morning, when I was at a live shot and the breezes started kicking up and it was cold, he said, "This is your fault." And I said, "No, I'm a reporter today. I'm not a meteorologist today. We're reporting on something." But all the time. But I also take the credit when the weather is amazing, and so.
That's true. Yeah. Pros and cons. Maybe we'll get you a shirt like, "Don't blame me for the weather," or something. Well, I really, truly love you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing a little bit of you with everyone that's watching, and we'll continue watching your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you next time on Now with Jen.